was reported on January the 8th by Guilherme Cruz of MMA Fighting that out was Georgian superstar. It was Guram Kutateladze, and in on this short notice, representing Brazil, the former Predador FC featherweight champ, Melk Costa. And as soon as I thought about that, Matt, I thought, you know what? This guy reminds me all of a sudden with a nickname like that of your favorite all-star MVP. Matt, do you know who that is?
I have no idea.
Yes, you do. Melky Cabrera, the Milkman. You
I do
absolutely
like
loved him. But for Melk Costa, this guy is such an interesting prospect and definitely due for an opportunity in the UFC. And it's not often that I say prospect when somebody has a record of already 19-5. But this guy's definitely grown as a martial artist. You remember him in the headlines in 2018, and you're going, Craig, no, I don't. Yeah, you do, because he was the guy on Twitter that got submitted and was unconscious in a ring for 90 seconds. And it was disgusting. But from that guy to the guy standing before you, again, definitely due for an opportunity in the UFC. And I know in his last 5 fights, he's 4-1, and he lost 3 fights ago against Italo Gomes, where he did lose a decision. Heck, I thought he won that fight. I thought he won 2 of the 3 rounds in that one. And if you go through his overall record, plenty of finish wins for sure. His last 2 fights, definitely getting it done with his hand. And if you do look at it, his last time out against Junior Mello where he knocked him out, he looked absolutely amazing in that fight and on fire. But for Costa, Matt, this is one of those guys, it does feel like a lot of the fights that are on this card, like Lacerda taking on Stamann, like, what else? Bonfim maybe against McKinney. Costa's getting a shot against a guy that was recently ranked in the lightweight division in Thiago Moises. So a giant opportunity on short notice for Costa in this one.
Without a doubt, but this is an interesting fight because it's a very yin and yang kind of fight. Like, if Moises gets into the mat, I'm sorry, but it's over. But guess what? If Moises gets 97% of the fighters in this division on the mat, it's over. The thing about Moises is he's a difficult fighter to predict because we've seen it before. I always bring up the Michael Johnson fight. Michael Johnson is not in his prime at all. He is well past it. But he was lighting Moises up in the first round of their matchup. Looking really good, working on the jab, working in his long-range combinations. And the second Thiago Moises got him on the mat, it was over. That's the thing about Moises. He does have that kind of, it is one-hit, one-kill jiu-jitsu. It really is. He's got leg locks, arm bars, chokes. And that's the thing about Moises that is nice. He does have a lot of variety to his submissions and what he fights for. And what I do like out of Moises too, and it is kind of a unique thing that only the upper echelon black belts have, he'll go for a submission knowing that you're going to defend the first submission to set up the second one.
Like a Charles Oliveira.
Exactly. Charles Oliveira is the guy who's done this. Brian Ortega is very good at this too. He kind of did it when he did his jump off guillotine against Cub Swanson, like fake the Darce, went guillotine. That was just a crazy submission. But just the thing with Moises is, for as lackadaisical and almost lazy as he might seem on the feet, because that's the thing about Moises, his strikes aren't fast. It really does stand out how slow some of his strikes are from the outside. And it's blinding. I will say, like, he can throw some decent volume sometimes to at least get your attention and then open up the rest of his game. But Moises isn't going to go out there and outstrike a lot of the upper echelon guys in the world. And even Costa. Now, here's the first thing. Melky Cabrera would never pass a USADA test. I love Melky Cabrera, but let's just call it what it was. For Costa, I do really think he does have a decided advantage on the feet. And I love the way that he can switch up his power shots in his combinations. Dan Hardy is the first person I ever remember bringing this up and really spoke about it in depth. So I always try to give him the credit for it when he deserves it, because when Costa throws his punches, let's say he's throwing a 3-punch combination, jab, right to the body, left hook, he can mix his power shot in to decide which shot is setting up the next and which one is really going to be that kill shot, the knockout shot. And that's what I do like out of Costa. Those aren't things that you just kind of learn when you're young in your career. Those are things that take time. You train them. You perfect them over time. And that's what I do like to see out of Costa.
Like, you talk about Michael Johnson against Thiago Moises, long, rangy on the outside, southpaw, will mix in a little bit of a kick, but mostly with his boxing. Costa fights the same way. The only thing I don't know about Costa, I don't know how tall he is, because if you look at it, the UFC had him billed as 5'10", LFA had him billed as 5'8", so I don't know if he's taller than a guy like Moises. I don't know if he's shorter. We're going to find that out when they stare them down on Friday.
Yeah. Moises isn't a huge lightweight. Like, he's just a fighter who belongs in the division. You know, you never think, Moises would move up or move down. Like, he's a 155-pounder.
Yeah, Moises a little bit like Warlley Alves, where I don't know what version I'm going to get, and he always looks mean. I do know that, and he always looks like he's got a little bit of a lip in.
The good version's better than the good version of Warlley.
It reminds me of like Elvis Andrews. I stopped dipping, so now I have to wear like a dip mouth guard when I'm up at the plate. Andrews, love him. But for Thiago Moises, his fight against Joel Alvarez, like, what the hell are we doing, man? I thought he was going to win that fight 9 times out of 10. He got his brains bashed in, and that was harsh, brother. But if you look at it for Costa, again, going down through these fights, fight against Italo Gomes, the pre-fight preamble, he looked like Ty Lopez. I'm with my Lamborghini here behind him. And he goes into that fight, and they bill him. They say, this man is a grappler. What? Like, I know he trains at a shoot the box Barao, which is where he's from. Who's out of that gym? It's not the Charles Oliveira shoot the box Diego Lima. Tubarao, Joe Anderson Brito, and I don't like to compare team members all the time. Costa has one thing that Brito has. He goes balls to the wall when he is on the mat, and he tries to sweep a lot. Now, he uses like leg locks to sweep at a bad position, and Kimuras to then sweep to get on top, and it works against a lot of fighters.
This ain't the man.
It's not going to work against Thiago Moises. So if they bill him as a grappler, don't be fooled. Now, Costa is really good on the mat. He's not Moises good. If he does submit him, it would be like the Jacare Souza, Andre Muniz submission. Yeah. But when I do look at all of his fights, Matt, his fight IQ, his clinch work, it's great. His boxing combinations, as you said, like, I love his kicks. There's, like, Costa's one of the most complete prospects you're going to find coming into the UFC. I love that he's in the UFC. I think he has a high ceiling. I think Moises is too much coming into this one.
Yeah.
And Moises is getting ready for a similar striker and a guy like Guram Kutateladze. And I think the guys in American Top Team, like Moises, Conan Silveira, Mikey Brown, all the guys there, they're going to get you ready for fights against guys like Costa. It feels too much too soon in a fight like this for Costa. And I know I picked a lot of these guys coming in on short notice or making UFC debuts to win fights like this. I have a hard time in this one.
That's the thing. You can come in on short notice and fight an unranked lightweight that no one's ever heard of. But Thiago Moises is like, he's not that dude, but he knows that dude. You know, he's been in there with that dude before. The thing about Moises is he does have that checkmate in his back pocket that you always have to worry about. Like, it doesn't matter how poorly it's going for Thiago Moises. If you do try to get cute with him on the mat, he's taking a leg home. He's taking an arm home. Moises is like a more refined Claudio Puelles, kind of. Like, you don't want to mess with him on the mat. You understand how dangerous that is. But if you are that long-range striker and keep him away from you, you will have a lot of success. I just worry about Costa with a lot of his success coming from boxing range. It does let Moises be very close to him, and that is going to make the takedown maybe not easier for him. I don't think Moises is just going to go in there and like Curtis Blades him, but it will make it more available for him, and I think that's going to be the big factor, because again, it's hard to pick against a guy who does have that trapdoor kind of a skill set.
Costa 3-1 in 2022. All of those fights were 3-round main events. His level of competition, combined record, wins and losses out of everybody, 164, 78, and 4, and they were legit when I went back and actually clicked on the records. It wasn't like, oh, that guy was 20-0, but he beat Jay Ellis 20 times. So, Matt, in this one, we'll have a look at Topology for the votes.
We seem to both be on the same page here.
Surprised us there to you. I'm going to say over under 87.5% Moises.
I think it'll be slightly under.
90%. So 633 total votes, 90% Moises, 51% by submission. For the 10% that have Costa, 60% by knockout. Costa's a better striker than Thiago Moises. And that striking will take him very, very far. I think it's great. He doesn't have a big reset after his combos either. He's just right back into the fray. And out of his kicks and his right hook, he can get right back into position and not leave himself out there to get hit. I just think it's, again, too much too soon. I like the jiu-jitsu and the takedowns out of Moises, and I worry about the in-betweens for Costa, where they're a net positive in his other fights. They could be a detriment in a fight against a guy like Moises.
It would be really difficult to do like the advanced statistical breakdown of this, but I think about this all the time. Let's say Alex Pereira has an opponent. Does that opponent have a level of kickboxer in their camp that can somewhat mimic Alex Pereira? Because some guys in the UFC are such specialists at one areas that you really do need to go out and find one of the best fighters in the world to kind of mimic that fighter. Costa is a very good striker, but Moises does have guys in the gym who can mimic a lot of what Costa does. We have seen Moises have success against some of these guys who go in there being like, hey, I'm a better striker than Thiago Moises. I'm going to go in there and knock him out and piece him apart. And Moises, like I keep on saying, has that trapdoor in his back pocket with the jiu-jitsu. I think Costa will have a successful UFC run. I just think this is a little bit too much too soon for him.
Look out for the body kicks and the spin kick that Costa was able to land against Melo his last time out. Can land. Both of us in this one. Battle of Brazil. Not going with the milkman. We're going with Thiago Moises to get the win. The mean man with the left in to get it done for American Top Team. Some big fights left on this card. Gregory Rodriguez taking on It's Me, Bruno, is next time out. You're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.